Thank you, everybody, for attending this presentation. Thank you to the TheiaCon team for inviting us. So this will be a presentation about why has snippet level scanning become critical and how is TheiaIDE solving it. So first off, let me present myself. So my name is Jerónimo Ortiz, and I am a DevSecOps engineer at ScanOSS, and I am based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So you will see that the slides on this presentation say Software Transparency Foundation, and I am from ScanOSS. That's because ScanOSS is a strategic member of the foundation. So this meeting is on behalf of the foundation. So as an introduction, I want you to imagine a hypothetical situation. So what would happen if you ask Claude, or your AI assistant of choice for that matter, for a sorting algorithm? Did it just paste GPL code from GitHub? So we need to face the new reality. AI code assistants speed up the development process, but what's really happening in the background? What risks come with the usage of AI? So developers are using code at unprecedented speed, often unknowingly, and GenAI accelerates reuse, but hides origin, so ownership and attribution data is sometimes lost. Therefore, organizations face compliance, security, and reputational risk. Traditional software composition analysis scanning miss the real risk. And why is that? Because legacy SCA tools and services analyze declared dependencies and not actual source lines. GenAI and copy-paste reuse live below manifest level, so undeclared software slips into our code base without us knowing. For that, I want to present you the solution to this problem. So first off, let me introduce you to OSSKB.org. OSSKB.org is a Software Transparency Foundation service which provides universal and free of charge access to the open source software knowledge base. The open source software knowledge base is composed of more than 3 trillion lines of code and is about 16 terabytes in size at this moment, but is constantly growing. This service is accessible through an open API, which is the ScanOSS API, and it is designed as a backend data service consumed by open source SCA tooling developers, platform engineers, upstream developers, open source projects, small development teams, auditors, IP, and license compliance experts. Just another quick heads up. So OSSKB was created and it's maintained by ScanOSS for the Software Transparency Foundation. Being a strategic member, ScanOSS provided the foundation a perpetual license to host and provide universal free of charge access to OSSKB.org. So features, what can you do with OSSKB.org? So as a beginners, you can detect declared and undeclared open source software at file and snippet level, so you can keep track of your software composition and create complete, accurate, and standardized SBOMs. You could also check against plagiarism of any OSS introduced by copy-paste or by AI assistants all across your supply chain. We also guarantee a quality of service, and I want to be transparent with this. There's usage limits that are set that basically shouldn't be an issue for the target audience for this service, which is not enterprise. And just to give you a rough estimate of the limits, you could get away with scanning the entire Linux kernel and you wouldn't go that far to reach those limits. So you can do a lot of scanning, don't worry. Being an open API based, this service can integrate into your existing workflows without much hassle. And I want to talk a little bit more about OSSKB.org before jumping into Theia and a quick demo I prepared. So there are 3 key concepts that make OSSKB.org different than other SCA tooling and technologies. which is that OSSKB.org is fast and accurate. And this is something related to the underlying technologies that make OSSKB.org possible. For example, the OSSKB.org data is stored in a hash-based data structure and not an actual database. This data structure is optimized for these massive amounts of information. So you will see during the demo that the scanning is extremely fast. Also, OSSKB.org doesn't block you from consuming these services from multiple first, third party, or even your own tools. So we will get into that a little bit more later. And finally, privacy by design. So this is something that's really important, and I think you will find it interesting. So basically, OSSKB.org offers privacy by design based on a couple of things. First, when you will be scanning your source code, you won't be sharing the exact source lines, but you will be sharing only hashes of your code. So that means that your code won't be leaving your computer or your infrastructure. It's just hashes. At the same time, OSSKB.org is an anonymous service, so no need for credentials, API keys, or anything like that. And just to round up everything I just told you about OSSKB.org, here's a small diagram. So you will see in the right side of the screen the Software Transparency Foundation servers that have the API, the ScanOSS engine, which handles the matching logic between your hashes and the hashes stored on OSSKB.org. And you will see that as inputs, you will only be sending the code fingerprints, which are the hashes I mentioned, and you will get the scan results as output. You also see that there are many ways to consume the service, including first-party ScanOSS tools, as well as third-party, like, for example, Theia. At the same time, all the software we use for creating the OSSKB is open source as well. So you will be able to find it on GitHub. Now, let's continue with how Theia is solving this issue. So Theia integrates ScanOSS and OSSKB.org into the IDE and allows developers to detect open source snippets generated with AI. This service is, as I mentioned, completely free of charge using OSSKB.org as a backend, and it offers seamless software composition analysis. So the scanning is actually done in the background, so you won't be disrupted during the development process. You will be able to visualize scan results without leaving the IDE, and you will even have inline highlights for match code. So all of this seems like a pretty good package for having software composition analysis without doing any effort. So let's continue. I prepared a small demo, and I want to go back to the original question. So what would happen if you were to ask Claude or any AI for that matter for a sorting algorithm? Are we putting open source, undeclared open source software into our own code base? And for that, let me switch to Theia. So I prepared a small source code file for this test. And I will show you how the ScanOSS OSSKB.org integration works here. To enable it, you just need to go to the settings section, type for ScanOSS, and here under AI features, you can toggle it on. I have it set for manual, but you can do it.
Sorry, I think we don't see the IDE. We still see the slides.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Let me change the screen then. Perfect. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So as I was saying, I prepared a small source code file here for you, and I will show you how to enable the OSSKB.org integration. So you should go to the settings section, And under AI features, you have here Scan OSS. I have it set to manual. You can have it for automatic. That's up to you. And let's ask Coder for a sorting algorithm. And let's see if it includes undeclared open source. So could you add a sorting algorithm to my main.c file? So let's wait for this to end. Great. So the coder just gave us what we asked for. So we have a bubble sort algorithm added into our own source code file. Now you will see here that it says scan. So we will click on that and we'll see if it actually contains undeclared open source. So the scan triggered a warning, and let's see what it's actually matching at. So here are the results, the scan results I mentioned without leaving the IDE. And we will see that we found as a matching snippet in this case, in the lines 21 to 37 of our own source code file. That's matching to this component right here. You will see the actual URL of the project that we are matching to. And you will even see the exact file here on the open source project that we are matching against, as well as up here, the actual lines of that file. So in this case, here under licenses, you will see that this component is an MIT license component. So it shouldn't be much of an issue. If it were GPL or another type of license, it would be. But in this case, we are safe. However, you see that with this small example, how we can, without ever us knowing, get undeclared open source into our project and expose ourselves and our organizations to much of a risk. Now, let's quickly switch back to the slide deck. And as a summary of the presentation, basically, to use AI or not is not a question anymore. It's a new reality. And traditional SCA methods are no longer enough. So snippet level scanning bridges this gap by identifying even small fragments of code. OSSKB.org offers an alternative to traditional SCA, being privacy-oriented and free of charge. And TheiaIDE, being an open and AI-first IDE, makes use of this service and delivers an easy-to-use way to mitigate the risks that come with AI code assistance. And with that, let me check my time. So we have 2 minutes for some questions.
And we do have 2 questions. So we have, do the hashes survive renaming of variables?
Could you repeat the question, Serena? Sorry.
Do the hashes survive renaming of variables?
No, so the hashes are calculated for each line of a source code file, and even a small change can actually change the hash.
Okay. And how to install Scan OSS?
So to use Scan OSS on Theia, you would just need to enable the plugin as I showed you. I can also send a link to the official documentation on how to enable it, but you just need to check that option on the IDE.
Okay, perfect. Well, that concludes the questions. So thank you so much for that quick and informative talk.